Alright, so you have your game. You want to go and you want to make it more dynamic because when you run it, it is very flat and it needs, maybe some little improvements. You can have the best art, but, some effects are nice to have. So what we can do, we go to project settings. We want to turn on advanced settings. We want to type in HDR. You're going to scroll down to viewport. You're going to want to turn on HDR 2D. It will ask you to restart. Once it loads, you want to then add a new world environment. You're going to go to new environment. You're going to set the background to canvas. We're going to go to the tone map. We want it to be ACS because then we'll have better lights and dark colors. You want to then go down to glow. We will enable this, normalize it, make it additive. We will then up the bloom very slightly. And then we want the intensity to also be up very slightly. So now when we look at the game, it'll be slightly brighter, but nothing will have changed overall. So in order to make it more dynamic, we'll need things to be darker. So we're going to add a directional light. Everything will be super bright. We want to make this darker, and then we want to set it to mix. So we're going to make it so that it's like a nice cave, dark cave aesthetic, and then we'll have a light coming from the top. So to get that light, we're then going to add another light, and this will be a point light. And this point light, we're going to make it a gradient texture 2D. We're going to move it to the center of the top up here. We're going to then go into the gradient. We're going to flip it around. We're going to take the white and put it in the center. We're going to take the black part and put it on the top. We're going to take the interpolation. We're going to make it cubic. We're going to make this 256 by 256. We're going to set the fill type to be a radial because we want it to be a circle. And now you'll see that we have this as our image. We're going to drag this down a bit. If you hold control, you get a snapping grid. We'll put it there. So now it's a nice arc there. And when we look in the game, it's making this nice aesthetic going on. So from here, we can add shadows. So to get the shadows themselves, we're going to enable shadows on the point light. We'll add a new child. We'll do a light occluder. We'll take this light occluder. It'll ask you to make a polygon. You're going to go to the bottom, and then you're going to draw roughly around the edges of these rocks that I have. This doesn't have to be super precise, just generally where you want things to go. Obviously, if you want it to be more pixel perfect and uniform, you can do it more precisely, but for the purposes of showing how this works, we don't have to do that. There, and hit it there. So now we have this. Might adjust this one a bit so it has a better fall off area. Now, when we run the game, there will be shadows that you can walk into. So now we have this for our aesthetic. And then if we want to bump it just a little bit further, you can raise the bloom ever so slightly. And then when you run the game, it'll have a sort of misty fog look to it. And that's pretty much how you make atmospheric lighting in Godot's 2D renderer.